Welcome back to Patch Notes, your daily briefing on gaming news. A UK employment tribunal handed Rockstar a preliminary ruling on June 17, and it is not the one Rockstar wanted. Every claim filed by the 31 fired IWGB members goes to trial in full, including the politically toxic blacklisting allegations. The studio asked for the trim. The tribunal said no. Quick refresher: October 2025, Rockstar fired dozens of UK staff in what the IWGB calls retaliation for organizing. Blacklisting is the explosive one because it would mean coordinated efforts to keep those workers out of the wider industry. The studio denies it. A trial will now decide which version stands. The full hearing now runs September 10 through October 15. That is 5 weeks of public testimony about how the world's most valuable game studio handles dissent. Set during the exact window most outlets will be writing GTA 6 launch previews. The PR overlap is genuinely impressive. Ellie Dunstan, one of the fired workers, summed up the union's mood after the ruling. The tribunal is now going to inspect the studio's behavior at full resolution on a public record, with reporters in the room. Rockstar's preferred outcome was none of that. Nothing about this slows GTA 6. The game is still coming, but Rockstar now spends the run-up to its biggest launch ever defending its labor practices in a venue it cannot script. For a publisher that controls its public image like a bank vault, that is the worst possible procedural loss. On June 17, Daisuke Sato, co-founder and director at Nagoshi Studio, quietly edited his ex-bio to read ex-Nagoshi Studio. No press release, no statement, just a profile change at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. In games industry obituary terms, that is a death certificate. Context for anyone who has not been following. Nagoshi Studio was founded in 2021 by Toshihiro Nagoshi and Daisuke Sato after they left Saga. These are two of the most important minds behind the Yakuza series. The whole pitch was a fresh AAA action game with NetEase money behind it. That game was Gang of Dragon. Then the funding fell through. Reports pegged the shortfall at around $44.4 million after NetEase pulled out. The office got marked permanently closed on Google. The studio website went offline. Nagoshi himself showed up in a recent Famitsu feature with no studio affiliation listed under his name. Add the bio change, and you have every public marker of a closure except the formal statement. No farewell post, no thank you to fans, no mention of where the team lands next. Just two veteran developers slowly detaching themselves from the project they built 4 years ago. The bleak part is the lesson. You can leave one of the biggest publishers on the planet, take your biggest IP veterans with you, get a Chinese mega publisher to write checks, and still not survive the gap between studio founding and first release. The successor to Yakuza is dying without anyone marking the grave. Dontnod's own auditors filed a special alert this week, which is corporate French for the situation is not okay. The studio behind Life is Strange has roughly 15.4 million euros in cash. Annual burn is around 17.4 million. The math, as they say, does not math. Tencent, which holds 41.9% of the company, was the obvious backstop. Tencent declined. Per the filing, the publisher does not wish to subscribe to a capital increase in the short term and is not interested in co-funding any of the games currently in development. That is the safety net deciding to go home. Chairman Oscar Gilbert says he is talking to other publishers. He also says there is no signed offer, which is the chairman version of we have applied for jobs. The realistic deadline is autumn 2026, when the cash runs out unless something structured lands. How we got here: Aphelion underperformed. Lost records, Bloom and Rage underperformed. Last year's layoffs were meant to be the reset. They were not. The studio is now openly telegraphing more layoffs, scope cuts on Project P14, and a possible pivot to work for hire to buy time. It is genuinely bleak. Life is Strange built an entire subgenre of narrative adventure. The studio that made it might not be there in 2027. If nothing structured closes by November, This is the part of the slow industry collapse where a name you grew up with becomes a Wikipedia past tense. Per The Verge, Ninja Theory staff were called into a meeting on Monday morning and told the studio is being wound down. The team has been allowed to search for an external buyer. That is the language Microsoft uses when it does not want to use the word closure in a headline. Days earlier, Craig Duncan, the head of Xbox Game Studios, stepped down. Chief of Staff Louise O'Connor went with him. Both posted polite farewell messages thanking the teams and dodging the obvious follow-up question, which is why now, 2 weeks before the fiscal year ends. With Duncan gone, the studios now report directly into Matt Booty, one less layer of leadership between every Xbox-owned developer and central management, right as the post-fiscal year layoff window opens after June 30. The org chart is being sharpened for cutting. Ninja Theory shipped Senua's Saga, Hellblade II just last year. Critical reception was strong, commercial reception was muted, and Microsoft has clearly decided one of those mattered more. The studio that built one of the most ambitious motion capture pipelines in the medium is being asked to find a new owner. We are now in the awkward stretch where Phil Spencer's old talking points about not closing studios run headfirst into Sarah Bond's restructure. The Sharma reset, named for the new gaming chief, is hitting its sharp end. Expect more announcements within weeks, not months. The slow part is over. The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales is out today on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2 and PC. It is the new project from the team behind Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default in partnership with Claytechworks. The interesting bit, they ditched turn-based combat entirely. Pivot is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Square Enix built a whole subgenre out of menus, turn order, and HD 2D presentation. Asking that team to make a top-down action game is like asking your favorite chess grandmaster to deliver a stand-up set. The risk is the entire pitch. Early reviews say the combat lands. Kotaku praises the moment-to-moment fights, the rhythm of dodge and counter, and the way enemies actually feel readable. The storytelling, on the other hand, is described as sanded off, vibes and atmosphere over arc and character. PC Gamer and Nintendo Life landed in the same ballpark. Solid action, charming presentation, narrative that never quite catches fire. So if you turned up for the Octopath team because of how they wrote a story, recalibrate. If you turned up because they finally get to make things hit, you are about to have a fine weekend. Worth flagging for anyone burned by previous big publisher action experiments. The team handling Elliot has actually shipped finished games before, in volume, on time. That is not a guarantee, but in 2026, it is closer to one than most studios can offer. Cautious optimism feels survivable. Hell Let Loose, Vietnam was supposed to launch today, June 18. It is not launching today. Team 17 and developer Expression Games delayed it to August 13. Almost 2 months of slip, announced just close enough to launch day to make every pre-order buyer notice. The open beta peaked at around 24,000 concurrent players, which is a strong number for a hardcore 50v50 shooter. It also surfaced enough issues across PC and console internal playtests to convince Team 17 that shipping today would do more damage than waiting 2 months. Physical PS5 and Xbox editions had been planned for August 4. Those have been realigned with the new digital date, which is at least a tidy bit of supply chain choreography in an otherwise messy week. The boxes you pre-ordered will now actually correspond to a working game. The bleak business side, Team 17 needed a clean mid-year launch. The marketing window was built around the World Cup viewing crowd, which is sticky and online and easily nudged into Vietnam-era infantry sims. That window now closes before launch day, and the August release will need a different angle. Valve has publicly committed. The Steam Summer Sale begins June 25 at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. CET. It runs through July 9, 2 weeks of identical pricing. No flash deals, no daily rotations, no panic buying at midnight. Whatever you see on opening day is what you get on the final day. The no flash deals policy is now years old, and it remains the single best change Valve made to the sales experience. You can build a wish list on day one, check prices once, and ignore the store for 2 weeks. The dopamine engineering is gone, which is somehow what makes you spend less and feel better. Timing is not subtle. The sale opens the moment Steam Next Fest closes its demo doors. Valve is literally handing you a fortnight of demos, then asking what you want to actually buy. The funnel is so cleanly designed, it would be impressive if it were not also the size of a small country's GDP. Expect deep cuts on Steam Deck verified titles. Valve is in the middle of the Steam Machine and Steam Frame summer push, and discounting the games that already run nicely on its handheld is the most obvious lever to pull. If you have been waiting on a Deck-verified backlog, this is your fortnight. The Doom takes a quick break for a sale. That's your patch notes for today. Subscribe so you don't miss daily gaming news.